يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات والله لا يحب كل كفار أثيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. صدق الله العظيم. ما بعد. So last week we were busy with ayah number 275, Surah Baqrah, and a very important chapter of the Noble Quran in the theme of Islam and the Sharia. And that is with regards to the hurmah, the prohibition and the unlawful nature of riba and interest. Usually, whatever terms we want to give it and whatever terms modern days will invent for it. There are certain things in deen in which Nabi ﷺ said, authentic hadith, إن الحلال بين والحرام بين, or الحلال بين والحرام بين. Halal is clear cut, it's evident, there's no ambiguity, it's unambiguous. Haram is likewise clear cut, unambiguous, everyone knows it. Black and white, or white and black. And in between there is the grey line, mushtabahat or mushtabihat. The grey line, the doubtful area, the grey zone, doubtful zone. So it's easy for people to know what is halal, what is haram, and it's sometimes difficult for people to either know or stay away from the doubtful areas. The aspect of riba doesn't fall under the grey line. It is clear cut. The aspect of riba is clear cut, it's undoubtful, unambiguous. Nothing is hidden. It's straightforward. أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Allah has made lawful bay', trade, transaction, that which falls under the qawaid and the laws of the Sharia, and Allah Ta'ala has forbade riba and all the formats of riba. May Allah grant us tawfiq of understanding. So we looked at the ayah last week, ayah 275. We're still busy with the same theme, and we looked at the different definitions of the different types of riba, riba nasi'a, riba al-fadl, which are the two important ones known to people today, and the other forms of riba as well. These are the two main ones, riba nasi'a and riba al-fadl. So وَمَنْ عَادَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha, to further elucidate and give you the importance of this discussion and a practical example. See, insan, we're always looking for loopholes, and we're always looking for excuses, always looking for, So Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha, Bahna said to Sayyidina Aisha, she said, Ya al-Mu'mineen, do you know Zayd ibn Arqam? Said, yes, of course, we know Zayd ibn Arqam was a very senior Sahabi, and he participated in the battles with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she said to Sayyidina Aisha, and she came to seek a masala. So, فَإِنِّي بِعْتُهُ عَبْدًا إِلَى الْعَطَاءِ ب800. I sold him a slave on credit for 800. Doesn't say 800 dirhams or dinars, 800. And he then needed some cash. He needed some cash. So basically wanting to give the slave back. فَاشْتَرَيْتُهُ قَبْلَ مَحَلِّ الْأَجَلِ ب600. So before the time period expired, I purchased it back for 600. So there's a 200 discrepancy, Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha said, بِئْسَ مَا شَرَيْتِ وَبِئْسَ مَا اشْتَرَيْتِ. Very evil is that which you have sold in the first place and that which you purchased after. This is precisely riba. Then she said, go and inform Zayd that he has cancelled his jihad with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam if he does not make tawbah. His jihad with Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam has been cancelled, has been annihilated, has been washed away from his books of deeds if he doesn't make tawbah. So the seriousness of this mas'ala, so much or to such an extent that they used to have a practice of which was known as mukhabara and muzabana in the early days. Mukhabara, muzabana. Many things we do, especially in our trade and our transactions, which we consider to be okay, and it's something that the common folk does, but these are unallowed. Entire full chapters. We open up Muslim Sharif, an entire chapter is on this here, just on the prohibition of mukhabara and muzabana. So what they would do is, the dates which were on the tree, that fresh dates which were on the tree, they would buy that in return for or in lieu of some dry dates which they had on the ground, and they would make an easy trade like this here. So this was a practice that they used to engage in. Or if it was a field, like like a corn field or a wheat field. So if there was some which were ripe and which were already harvested, and those which were still ready, almost to be harvested, still ready, which is almost going to be ready, they would come and buy those which were still on the trees, in the plant, which were unharvested, and in payment would be those which was already harvested. So Rasulullah came and he put an entire stop to all of the systems. Muzabana, mukhabara, muhaqala, etc. Different terminologies. And in order to cut and to seal any doors or any loopholes for riba, he shut it down completely. This discussion of riba is so serious. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, marfu'an, الربا 73 بابا. Riba is some 73 categories, 73 types. In one riwayah, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Hadith in Ibn Majah, Hakim, Ibn Mas'ud, الربا 70 جزءا, 70 parts, 70 types. أيسرها أن ينكح الرجل أمه. The least of which is in terms of its sin is like a man committing incest with his mother. This is how serious the matter of riba is. And unfortunately, we have taken and we have made this year very light. We have taken it easy in this matter. We are not careful when it comes to our money matters. Allah al-Musta'an. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ يَأْكُلُونَ فِيهِ الرِّبَى. A time is going to come upon people that they are going to be engaged in riba. They are going to be engaged in riba. قَالَ قِيلَ لَهُ النَّاسُ كُلُّهُمْ. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked, will everybody be engaged in it? So he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, مَنْ لَمْ يَأْكُلْهُ مِنْهُمْ نَالَهُ مِنْ غُبَارِهِ أو كما قال عليه السلام. Who doesn't actively engage in riba, then definitely the smoke of riba will come into him. Definitely the dust of riba will come into that person. The ghubar, the dust of riba will come into that person. If we look at our current money matters, in some way or the other we link to the banking system. And as much as we can try to possibly stay away from the actual riba itself, which we know, but because we are attached to a system that is primarily based on riba, so the dust of that riba is coming to us. And we are stuck in that system. And if you want to deal in cash, then it's impossible. Slowly it's becoming more and more impossible to deal in cash. Everything has to go through the bank and then the central bank, which is all based on riba. So مَنْ لَمْ يَأْكُلْهُ مِنْهُمْ نَالَهُ مِنْ غُبَارِهِ. Whomsoever will not take it, those few who will not be engaged in it, then the ghubar and the dust will settle on that person as well. For example, the matter of credit card. Many people ask the matter of credit, is it permissible or not permissible? So the ulama are divided on this matter, whether it's permissible or not. Those who say that it is impermissible have valid grounds to say it's impermissible. Why? Because the condition within the credit card is that it's based on interest. If you pass that grace period, 60 days or whatever the grace period is, and then they will charge you interest continuously. Unfortunately, most of the world is working on this here nowadays. That's why people, the minute when they talk of OCR, which is currently happening now, they were going to increase it, but they kept it on 5.5 points. So those who are in mortgage and those who are in credit card business, then they will suffer. ناله من غباره. Those ulama who say that there is permissibility, are saying that because this falls under shart fasid. It's a technicality within fiqh. It's a technicality within jurisprudence, that there is a condition which is an invalid condition. Because of the invalid condition, the primary transaction doesn't become void. So the primary transaction in this case is the facility of the credit card. The condition there is, if you pass the 60-day grace period or whatever the grace period is, you'll be charged on interest upon that. So that's an invalid condition which is attached to bay', which is known in fiqh as shart fasid or fasid shart. So according to the fuqaha, if the shart is fasid, then the actual transaction still goes through. Based on that technicality, those who give permissibility, provided, again there's a big proviso there, that you do not cross that grace period. وَفِي كُلٍّ, in any case, you fall under this here, نَالَهُ مِنْ غُبَارِهِ, the ghubar and the dust is going to settle on you. May Allah. So you see, in a case like with the credit card, now this is where you start falling into the grey line. When Nabi ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْحَلَالَ بَيِّنٌ وَالْحَرَامَ بَيِّنٌ وَبَيْنَ ذَلِكَ أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. Whomsoever will stay away from the shubuhat, then he has protected his deen and his honor. He has protected his deen and his honor. And then he gives a beautiful example. He has protected his deen. He has protected his deen and his honor. When you engage in doubtful activities, then you slowly chip away from your threshold of what is permissible and not permissible. And then you fall into the haram line. And when that happens, then your deen is affected. And similarly, when you will engage in doubtful activities, then you become a target for criticism. But when you stay away from doubtful areas, your deen is protected because you're not venturing in those lines. You're not venturing in a no-go zone, or you're not venturing in a bus lane. Some people, they just don't use bus lane. They're not worried about what times I'm allowed or not allowed. They just won't go there. Because why? They said, we don't know if the time, maybe might be 1 minute, 2 minutes off or something like that. Don't go in the bus lane at all. So they are protected from any fines. And sometimes, they're very sharp, these guys. Some bus lanes, they'll write there 7 to 10, but they'll write AM to PM. And you'll think that it's AM to AM, and you stay away from it. But meanwhile, it's AM to PM. And then you're stuck. You go in that lane and you're getting the fines all the time. So you don't venture. So when you stay away from the doubtful area, you protected your deen and you protected your izzat and your honor. Then he gave a beautiful example. He said, كَالرَّاعِ يَرْعَى حَوْلَ الْحِمَةِ, like the shepherd who takes his animals and his flock to graze. Every king has a perimeter fence or a perimeter boundary around his castle or his home, whatever it is. In the democracies, you don't have that. Why? Because they just put a security car outside the house, or 2 security cars, whatever it is. So that's the hima. Don't come on the lawn. Basically, that's it. But if you go to the kings and the monarchies and the dictators and all these other places, then there is like a few kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometer radius perimeter area. Non-trespassers will be prosecuted. Sometimes trespassers can also be shot down. And if you're in Israel and you're a Palestinian, the minute you venture past the line, they shoot you down. No questions asked. Even if you're in your line, they still shoot you. Subhanallah. Now they have designated Hamas as a terrorist organization. We have to make more dua for Hamas now. May Allah give them more victory. So you see this, how the Nusrat of Allah is coming closer. I'm just going slightly on the side. How the Nusrat of Allah is coming closer. Nusrat of Allah comes when every avenue is narrowed down upon you. ضاقت عليهم الأرض. Where you must go? They are in Rafah. Where must you go? They're bombing Rafah now. The one organization that was standing up for them, if you stood up for them and you spoke in their favor, then you also became a terrorist now. So NZ has declared them. So every avenue is being shut down. Everywhere, everywhere. Political, humanitarian, you name it. So Allah is preparing for His main Nusrat to come. And Allah, may Allah accelerate that Nusrat. So that perimeter fence, I'll give you an example. Last year in August, my brother got married in Zimbabwe. So they went, the nikah was in the afternoon, it was Friday, and then they went to the accommodation and they were coming back in the evening for meals. We were by the main house. He and his wife went and they were coming back for meals in the evening. So it was, I think, past 6 p.m. And as they came, they followed the GPS and he took a turn. Now, from 6 to 6 or 7 to 7 in the morning, that road is off limits. Why? Because it's close to the president's dwelling, Unangagwa. So he was driving, he took the road and then he got pulled off. And the army came immediately. They searched the car, top to bottom, mirrors, everything, check all their possessions. We are from South Africa, we came to Zimbabwe. I don't know anything. His wife was from Zimbabwe. We don't know. We following the GPS and we came here. They were listening to nothing. That hima, talk of the hima, the perimeter fence. So when the charwaha, when the shepherd is grazing his animals very close to that boundary perimeter fence, then soon the animals will also venture into that perimeter, into the radius, the non-allowed area. So Allah Ta'ala's parameters are the maharim, the fence, the haram. When you venture close to the haram, i.e. doubtful, then slowly you start stepping and you go over into the haram. The credit card is the typical example. So initially you start off, you're very noble, you make sure you're paying 60 days, you're paying it on time. But now, and then they keep on increasing your balance, no? Your allowance, they keep on increasing it. So nafs of insan wants to take on more and more. And now you see, you went to the shop, you didn't have a need for anything. Suddenly you saw an item and you were enticed to buy. And you know you got a facility on your credit card. Say, okay, you know what, I'll just buy it on the credit card. I'll put it on my card. Now you put it on your card and you're unable to meet your deadline. Now you've gone into the you have crossed that the trespass zone. You've crossed the trespass zone and you went into riba. Allahul Musta'an. May Allah Ta'ala forgive us. The fact that people come to ask you the masala of mortgages, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, ask your heart. Ask your heart, because your heart will give you the answer. Allah Ta'ala has created fitrat as-salima in our hearts. The discerning ability to know what is right from wrong. You yourself will first tell you whether it's halal or haram. Then after, now because you want to get it, now you go ask the fatwa. As insan. Wallahi, we are in such a problem in this country here. It's unbelievable. This is the pandemic. This is the problem here. This riba matters. All the masajid, or most masajid that I know, are all insured. They're all insured, and insurance is on the riba, amongst the many matters. Nobody wants to listen. Allahu Musta'an. Oh. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ آكِلَ الرِّبَى وَمُؤْكِلَهُ وَشَاهِدَيْهِ وَكَاتِبَهُ. Allah's la'nat is on the person who consumed the riba, آكِلَهُ وَمُؤْكِلَهُ, the giver of riba, the feeder of riba, وَشَاهِدَيْهِ, those who witness it, وَكَاتِبَهُ, and those who write it down. That is why the ulama said that working in the banking sector is haram. Anything around the bank is haram. Why? Because your earning is primarily from that pool of funds, which is purely based on riba, nothing else. يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ كَفَّارٍ أَثِيمٍ. Allah Ta'ala destroys riba. يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ. The word is called mahq. Mahq means when you annihilate, when you wash away something and there's no traces of it. Allah will destroy riba so much, such a way that there won't be any trace of it. When those financial recessions happen, then everything falls. Then the mahq of Allah takes place. وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ, and Allah Ta'ala causes sadaqah to grow. Allah causes sadaqah to grow. And subhanAllah, look at the word. Yurbi comes from the word rabaya, which is the same root word of riba. Because the literal meaning of riba, if you look at it, means increase. Means increase. So Allah will increase the sadaqat and destroy the riba. And our iman has to be on that. Remember what we said last week. The fact that Allah has made it haram means that in every age and era until Qiyamah, it will be possible to stay away from it. Otherwise, the command of Allah is in vain, and Allah Ta'ala is free of frivolous and futility. Wallahu la yuhibbu kulla kaffarin athim. Allah Ta'ala dislikes, despises any disbeliever and any sinful person. So the kaffar, ungrateful person, or person whose heart is full of kufr, athim, person who is perpetually in sin. Perpetually in sin. So when the maw'idah and the nasiha has come to you, the advice has come to you, then stay away, abstain, make the changes, and ask Allah Ta'ala's assistance and help. But if after that you continue, then you fall under kafar and athim. You are ungrateful to Allah and you can be bordering on the lines of kufr, but most definitely you'll be a sinful person, and Allah despises you. Ibn Jarir rahmatullah alayhi under this ayat said, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu said, "Riba wa in kathura." Riba, no matter how much it may be, no matter how much it is, فَإِنَّ عَاقِبَتَهُ تَصِيرُ إِلَى قُلْ. The end result of riba will be nothing. The end result of riba will be nothing. It is always destroyed. It is always finished. And in contrast to that is sadaqah. In contrast to that, you see, the kufr system is such that it affects you at your core. And your core is what? Iman and yaqeen. Iman and yaqeen. So when that iman and when that yaqeen is shifted from Allah to insurance, then our yaqeen is not by Allah. Our yaqeen is by the insurance. So if somebody is insured, when something happens to his item, he's not stressed. Why? Because insurance will sort it out. Other way is you're supposed to have yaqeen in Allah Ta'ala. Allah is the one who provided you from nothing. Allah tested you in that item of yours. Where is your yaqeen? Allah wants to check the gauge of your heart. Allah wants to check the gauge of your heart. So now the gauge of your heart is on the insurance. That's the shift. That's where it comes in. You are in constant war with Allah. Your heart is in constant war with yaqeen. It's a constant battle. Subhanallah. Nabi ﷺ said, Inna Allah Azza wa Jal yaqbalu sadaqah. Look at sadaqah now. Sadaqah looks like you're giving out, na? So Allah Ta'ala accepts the sadaqah. وَيَأْخُذُهَا بِيَمِينِهِ. Allah Ta'ala takes it with His hand. The ta'bir or the tashbih here is, the similarity is that Allah is taking it. Like, when somebody gives you something and you take it, like you accept it, Back home when they come back, they clap their hands in their back like this, taking it. Allah is taking it. So when you give a sadaqah, they know it's not just going in the air somewhere. It's not getting lost somewhere. It's getting recorded. And Allah has got a special focus on that sadaqah. فَيُرَبِّيهَا لِأَحَدِكُمْ كَمَا يُرَبِّي أَحَدُكُمْ مُهْرَهُ أَوْ فُلُوَهُ. And Allah Ta'ala then puts it in His special care and in investment. Allah then invests it for you. Allah then, and the example He gave is because those times they didn't have investment and investment nests and pots. They had animals. So how a person will take care of that young calf and that young horse, and will care for it and nurture it and make sure the feed and the fodder and it's accommodated properly and safe from the harsh weather until the animal can grow up and become big and strong and healthy. Similarly, Allah Ta'ala takes that sadaqah of yours and puts it under His special nigrani and special care and attention and special investment. حتى إن اللقمة لتصير مثل أحد. So much so that one luqma, one morsel of food you give in sadaqah will become like the mountain of Uhud in terms of its reward. But it will only happen when we have that level of yaqeen, which the ummah doesn't have. Why? Because we are constantly in war with Allah Ta'ala in our hearts. Because we are we are adopting systems which are designed on a false security. False security. وإن الرجل لا يتصدق باللقمة فتربو في يد الله أو في كف الله حتى تكون مثل أحد فتصدقوا. Nabi عليه الصلاة والسلام said, or in another hadith, Nabi عليه الصلاة والسلام said, إن العبد إذا تصدق يقبلها فأخذ. Many riwayats in the same riwayat, حتى تكون مثل أحد فتصدقوا. Hence, O insan, give out sadaqah, give sadaqah, give sadaqah, give sadaqah, and give it with this yaqeen that Allah Ta'ala is going to replace you or substitute you and give you back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us one date, one luqma of food, $1, $2, $10, $5, each and every penny in the court of Allah Ta'ala is like Mount Uhud. When you're giving that little bit, think that this is Mount Uhud. Don't deem it insignificant. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Sometimes you have in your ashtray, before you call ashtray, nowadays they don't have ashtrays in the car, they got small compartments. So, you have a few coins there, and on the road, they're begging on the road. By the way, they're saying some of these beggars are earning thousands of dollars per day. SubhanAllah. When I read the article, I thought of our discussion the other day. So when you took those few coins and you gave it to that beggar on the side of the road, then think, Allah, this is my Mount Uhud I'm giving. Make that niyat. Allah, this is my Mount Uhud for my akhirat. When we do good, do it and know why you're doing it. Know the reward of behind it. So you can look forward to that. This is known as ihtisab. The concept of deen. Ihtisab. Ramadan is coming, I'm fasting, and Allah, I want my reward. I'm claiming it on Eid night. I'm claiming my reward. I'm going to go through Bab al-Rayyan in Akhirat. The door of Rayyan, I'm going to go through that. I know, I'm fasting with that intention. This is known as ihtisab. We must have that yaqeen. But remember, Allah Ta'ala says, Inna Allah tayyibun wa la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. Allah Ta'ala is pure, and Allah Ta'ala only will accept pure. So if you give your, little bit dirty money on the side and think you're going to purify your wealth by giving that in sadaqah, forget about it. That was a burden on you which you needed to get rid of. Make sure that you were able to do that. When you give out, give from your tayyib mal. إن الرجل لا يتصدق بصدقة من الكسب الطيب ولا يقبل إلا الطيب فيتلقاها الرحمن بيده فيربيها كما يربي أحدكم فلوه أو وصيفه أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام والله لا يحب كل كفار أثيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, verily those who have iman, practice on their good deeds, وأقاموا الصلاة, establish their salah, وآتوا الزكاة, discharge their zakah fard and their nafil sadaqat, لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. For them is their reward established by Allah 100%. And what we said, لا خوف عليهم, there's no fear for what's coming ahead. ولا هم يحزنون, and there's no grief and worry of what they left behind. Because they were all in check. I didn't have any interest-bearing deals. I didn't have any insurance. I didn't have any mortgages. I didn't do any of these unda dandas, they say. I didn't do all of these things. So then, لا هم يحزنون, no stress. No stress to worry about. Carry on. The road ahead for akhirat, no potholes, no detours, nothing. Straight ahead. We're going to Jannat, inshallah. Allah accept from us all, inshallah. Next week is the last week before Ramadan. We will end off with this discussion, inshallah. And we'll end off on that note if Allah Ta'ala grants us tawfiq. So, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us and to purify our earnings, inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.